G'day and welcome to the Zen Knitting Podcast, Episode 2. My name is Kota and I'll be your host today. You can find me on Ravelry as Kota at Talk. I'm on Instagram as Kota at Talk. I'm also on Facebook as Kota at Talk. I belong to a lot of Facebook groups where, anything to do with spinning, weaving and dyeing, and I'm playing with. I'm primarily a knitting podcast, but I also crochet. I'm polycraft minded. So I'm coming to you today from lovely West Lancashire. It's a typical grim, dark day. I have tried 4 times now to do this podcast, so I'm getting to the stage where sink it or swim, this is going to be bloody well it. And I'm sorry about this, but I'm just about had enough. 2 days in a row. Yesterday I had sunshine. Today I have no sunshine, and my mood is getting there to match. So cooies this week. I'm going to do some shout outs to some Ravtavers. We all belong to the Simply Nonsense for the Sake of Nonsense group, infamous for Johnny Raids and our bar, which is the Ravtav, and the bucket rum, which is the standard. We pass you a drink. We'll mix you any of your poison that you want, but the standard drink at the bar is a bucket of rum. So, hi to Tori. I hope all is going well with the apartment search. I hope that you're having a good week. And do you want a big bucket or do you want a barrel? Okay. Another one goes to hi to Heather Bailey, who is a Ravtaver. I hope your boys are behaving themselves and that Patrick is getting some sleep. Patrick is on night shift this week. She homeschools, so let's be honest, I really don't think those boys will be quiet for their father unless you take the car keys and take the kids out. I can't see it happening. So have fun gallivanting while you have the car this week. I'd also like to do another shout out to another Heather who subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. You made my day. I hope you liked last week, and I hope you back. And I hope you can put up with me just learning how to do this, because I am still learning. Big heaps mobs. Yes, I will be looking down. I can't help it, so I'm trying not to, but I made notes so I wouldn't forget anything. Yeah, I forget things all the time, so. What's on my radar? Well, this week I watched on Sunday, which is Mother's Day, I watched a documentary on Shakespeare's mother, Mary Arden. Now, I'll put the link in the show notes for you because the program is available on YouTube. So it's not restricted by the BBC iPlayer. And it's well worth having a look at. If you want to look at the life of a Tudor woman through the periods of, King, the Protestant, Catholic, the Reformation, the life of a woman who was a very interesting character, but she wasn't in the courts. She was just a local country one, and I thought it was appropriate that they replayed it on Sunday, because Sunday was Mother's Day, and she was the mother of William Shakespeare. And it's interesting the fact that they keep finding out things about her life, and she's lived a very interesting life, and she must have been a character, and she must have been a very strong woman, because I think you had to be a strong woman to survive as an ordinary woman in Tudor times, because the expectations that you do the housework, whatever. And then whenever they were short of labour, you would go in and help out the family business, whether the fields or in the business. And when your husband was away, you were expected to run the business. Or when your husband died, you were expected to run the business. Um, Very interesting time, but at the same time, you're supposed to be docile and godly, and there is a dichotomy there between, and a bit of an oxymoron between what was expected behaviour-wise and what they had to do. Like, I would never want to be a fishwife in the Tudor age, because I'd get, no, definitely not a job I would want. It would be the worst job for a Tudor woman. Most definitely would be the worst, one of the worst jobs for Tudors. Podcasts. Shannon on the Sock Tetra. I love Shannon. She's brilliant. She raises issues and she's willing to challenge her own behaviour and the behaviour of others. And I just love that there is no fear. She'll says it straight and that's it. You get it. There is no fear. She doesn't hide anything from you. Shoots from the hip. You get it. I really enjoyed the fact that she addressed that there is yarn classism in the podcast community and the knitting world. And this leads into the second podcast of this week. I would go and have a look at Yarn Loud Canada. Sarah did a mini. Her podcast is a bit like mine this week, not going right. So she did a mini episode yesterday about how she was inspired by Shannon and discusses yarn classism in the fibre world. She discussed the different perspectives of it, and it's well worth going to have a listen and to think about your own behaviour and that. And yes, I agree, there is yarn classism. Yes, we all remember the old acrylic from 35 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah, I'm starting to date myself here. Yes, we remember the acrylic from then, but acrylic has changed, and its case is horses for courses. I will use acrylic when I can see there's a need. I will use wool and silk when I can see there's a need. I'm allergic to mohair. I don't knit mohair things for myself. I will knit it for a certain recipient. I'll take the antihistamines, and because the hay fever, my nose is a running tap round mohair. I think eventually it will get to the stage where I'll have to wear gloves when I knit while I'm handling the yarn because of skin irritation, but I'm not there yet. But at the moment it's definitely nose drip and eye itch. So yeah, it was well worth it. The third podcast that I would suggest looking at this week would be the Grocery Girls. Yeah, those two sisters just make me laugh. I'd love to be in their kitchen with my knitting, and they would keep you amused. Jodie and her sister Tracy are just hilarious, and I think so. That's 3 Canadians, so 3 for 3. Definitely, if you get a chance, go and check them out. I've actually got a finished object this week. Woo! I didn't expect to because I was working on the big thing lurking over my shoulder. There was no way I was going to get that done in a week. It's a queen size Afghan. Get real. But I've got 2 socks. 1, 2. They're not going to get blocked because I have a 6'3" blonde with blue tipped who I know will steal if I block them. Because I won't. Because I'll put them in the blocks and I'll put them in the laundry area, and they just will disappear up the stairs and I'll never see them again except when they're on her feet. So no, they're coming. They're staying with me. there's it's the Smug pattern. These are my January socks for the British Sock Knitters Cal. We're doing this year. The theme is British actors, and January was Brendan Cumberbatch. Is it Brendan? Brendan Cumberbatch, and he was the dragon in The Hobbit. So I had to do the Smug socks. The pattern's by Frau Morag. It's a free pattern. I did it in Cascade Heritage 2 in Persimmon on 2.25 millimeters. I think that's a US 1.5. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a US 1.5. Or is that 2.5? Oh well. Sorry. Some things, Australia went metric in 66. I have some imperial measurements because of my family, but it's been metric all the way, and I struggle. I've lived here for 12 years, and I struggle between Australian versus US, UK versus US, because, for example, I think it's a US 9 is a UK 5 is a 5.5 millimeter. Yeah, so that's my finished object for this week. The blankie. Yes, I have an end weave in. Only cast off. Look, I knitted this sock. It was here this time Monday last week, and I knitted that from there to casting off yesterday, because I had a couple of days off the blanket, and I'll just get into the blanket now. So my crochet blanket, which has been done in Stylecraft Special DK acrylic, and that, so it's turning the blocks and joining the blocks. So each row I have 15 columns, 14 rows. Each row has 14 blocks. Can you see the pattern here? Sorry, got that wrong. 14 columns, 15 rows. Yeah, 14 columns, 15 rows. So I'm aiming to do a row of 14 blocks a day. I've got 8 rows done of the blocks joined together. Because of the weight of it, I've still got it. I've got it in. The first one is 5 blocks wide, and this one's 3 blocks. Once I've do the next row, I will then join this piece to that piece, because that's a third. It's the weight of it. As you can see, even holding the block up, there is a sag there. I love the join. I've gone and done the a modified Celtic lace join, and there's a bit of stretch there, and that it's wide enough. And I love how the centre is like that. I love that centre on the cross like that. It's wide enough to frame the granny square, but it's not overpowering the granny square, which is why I chose the modified block. I had tried the V-stitch block join, and I didn't like it, so I went back to the Celtic lace block and just took the last row as the join for the block, the first row and the last row as the join for the block, for the Celtic lace block. so I have the block boarded and then the join coming together quite nicely. So I have 8 rows done, so I'm at the halfway. So as Jodie would say, that's a hoe. And like Miss Lavinia, Katie of Inside Number 23 podcasts, my inner 12-year-old starts to laugh at the thought of I have a hoe for a project in more ways than one. So that's where I am. This week as you can hear, I'm starting to get stuffy and I've got a bit of a cold coming on. I didn't go out to Nick Group this week because I wasn't feeling great, and I thought about travelling there and travelling an hour's drive back feeling miserable. I spent most of Saturday asleep, and I thought I had staved off the cold, but no, it's definitely on its way. So I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday off doing the blanket. Just one of those things, But I'm quite happy that I've got that much. In my tucker bag, well, this week I have some purchases and I have some planned purchases. Yes, I am a hand talker and I'm desperately trying to control my hands here and not working very well. This is my last ball. I somehow don't see that I'm going to get 7 rows of blocks joined together with one ball. I'm going to have to buy some yarn. Oh, how hard. So I will be buying some acrylic to finish off, and I will be buying, there's some other planned purchases. I'm doing a bit of stash diving, but I still, for the next couple of projects, but I still think I will be actually having to buy some yarn because of some pattern purchases I've made this week. One of the things that came in this week, I ordered it ages ago. I have a project in my queue that requires lots of I-cord, and the thought of doing I-cord, I wanted to give I-cord on a meal go, so because the thought of doing I-cord on 4 DPNs, I've done it enough times that it sort of slightly fills me with dread. So I'm hoping this would help speed up the process. I mean, still, if you're doing an I-cord bind off, you're still going to have to do it on the needles, but there's still times where I can see that I could use an I-cord mill to speed up my I-cord production. So because I'm going to be doing a yarn order, I'm going to have to get some figuring. If I'm going to be paying money for postage, I'd rather get money for yarn rather than paying that extra for postage. If I get up to a certain point with a couple of suppliers, say if you get to £20, they pay the postage. That could be a ball of, their cost in postage at that point could be a ball of yarn. A nice ball of sock yarn, a pair of socks. I rather have it in yarn rather than me paying it in postage. You've got to be a little bit canny with your money, especially now that I don't work full time. Got to be canny. Last week I bought a number of patterns. The first pattern I bought was the Sylvia Bolivia pattern, Waiting for Rain. I heard the name of the pattern and I just went, I've got to have it. As a top ender, so I come from the very north of Australia in the Northern Territory. So I come from the Arnhem land and north. So that's the top end. So I think the Tropic of Capricorn north. And we have two seasons. Well, we really have 6, but we have 2 main seasons. We have the wet season and the dry season. And before the wet and the dry, you have the build up and the build down. We have like a couple of mini seasons, but the build up is it's that end of the dry, when it changes from the dry season to the wet season, and it goes from being dry heat to being high humidity, wet heat, and you're desperate for rain. And you can feel, you get to 110% humidity. The water is forming on the walls because it's coming out of the air. You're getting condensation on the walls. Mold can grow overnight. But so when that comes in, just before, it's called the build-up, and it's also known as Mango Madness. And that first thunderstorm, we're waiting for rain. We're desperate for the monsoon storms to break. You can see the thunderheads forming, but the rain hasn't broken yet, and everyone's desperate for it to rain. Like the first rain, we don't use umbrellas. We don't use. Very rarely do you use a raincoat. Raincoat's more likely to be a gar bag with a hole in the top and 2 holes for your arms. Well, it works. A black bag. I went to a Dire Straits concert like that. And they actually had to stop the concert because there was that much rain that the water was getting into the electrical system. So this is before Dire Straits had unplugged, before the acoustics. They actually had to stop. This is the Dire Straits concert at the Royal Darwin Showgrounds, and I'm standing in the dirt, and the rain is raining that hard that the mud is coming up from the ground and splashing up onto us, 4 or 5 feet in the air. When the monsoon breaks, the ground is so hot that it's very frequent to see steam. Like the ground doesn't stay wet. It dries. You get this steam coming up from the asphalt, and asphalt tarmac. You have problems going in and out of buildings because your glasses fog because the change in temperature coming in and coming out. It's like, ooh, blind. So yeah, that pattern was just had to get. And I think there are a number of podcasters who have that pattern for a cow. The Knitting Expat podcast would be the one. She's got Mina from the Knitting Expat has a list of all the current cows that podcasters are running that she keeps updated. So I would go and visit her and to find who's doing the Waiting for Rain shawl. Another one that I bit the bullet, and I bought Stevens West. Now Eric from Six Foot Twine is doing Exploration Station cow. Now I bit the bullet and I bought the pattern. Now I have a love-hate relationship with Stephen West's patterns. I did a mystery cow a couple of years ago for one of his patterns, and it's confirmed I shouldn't do mystery cows. I need to see what I'm going to be knitting before I commit, particularly with Stephen West because he does so many colour changes. I hated it, absolutely hated it, and I didn't finish it. And it's one of his really popular shawls, and I, I end up frogging the project right back, and I got left with bits of skein, bits of this, bits of that, and so when like the doodler came by last year, I went, no, I'll wait and see. And then people were doing it, were going, a doodler is another one that I think I'll eventually bite the bullet and do, but the exploration station, I might not join Eric's Cal in time because I've got to do some yarn dive, stash diving to see what I have. If I have anything suitable, I may order something based on a couple of choices. Yeah, so that's another one. The other thing I bought this week was the pattern wise was the Kiss Lips heel pattern, and I gifted another copy to a new sock knitter I know. Now it's only $1 US for the pattern, so I think it's $1 US. It's only $1. $1 US? It was $1, yeah. But it's well worth taking, pay it forward. It's a lovely pattern. It has lots of theory, and if you don't have a copy of it, spend the dollar, and if you do, pay it forward, buy a copy for somebody else. The pattern, the author of the pattern is currently going through a battle. She's got stage 3 cancer, so any pennies heading her way at the moment would be a great benefit to her family and her. So my race schedule for the next week is to rip out my fabric. I've only got the ribbing. Rip out my fabric scraps, recast on with the new needles, because it's Cascade Carey. It's 2.5 at the moment, and I don't think I'm going to have gauge on that one either, so I think it's going to be 2.25. And then I also have to cast on my March socks for the British Sock Knitters Cal. I'm a little bit behind. More work on the old fellow, but I think I might have 2 shawls there. I've also got to do some swatch goes. There's a cardigan I want to do, but again it's stash diving and seeing what's in the stash and actually using things up, because I used to have 3, a lot more than I do now. I'm down to 1 bucket, 40-gallon bin. What's they called? Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid storage bin. It's about half full. I'm trying to get down to a quarter, so I can, hopefully get to Wonderful Wales and fill up with things I would like to play with. So that was my tucker bag. So I think now would be a good time to say if you that's all the knitting stuff. So for those who are only interested in knitting, thank you and for watching and goodbye. And I hope you like this week, and hopefully I'll see you next time. So Smoko Natter, it was Mother's Day, and I got spoiled. I got spoiled big time. Cards. The boy I came home from Liverpool City, where he's in Hall's residence for university, on Saturday, and it surprised me by staying until Sunday. So he was home for Mother's Day, and he actually had a card, all organised. And I just think that is, considering how much he's been a horrible teenager to me lately, the fact that he got me a card that says, "Mum, you're like a button and thread, you hold it all together." I was exceptionally touched by the fact that he got me that sort of card, because he's been a horrible teenager. Yeah, he's 19. He's still a grunter. Yeah, still doesn't converse with his mother. That the daughter's was a good giggle. She gave me a cat one for a fab mum. Can you read that? Now this is plays on the inside joke. It says, "I'm smiling because you're my mum and laughing because there's nothing you can do about it." Now, because I had 2 emergency C-sections for both kids, that it's always been, I can't deny that they're mine because I've got the scar to prove it. So the daughter was playing on that one, no, wouldn't be like that. So that was Mother's Day. Mother's Day, I was spoiled run. The baby at 6 foot something, size 11 shoes. He and his father, the baby got his father up at about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday to go down to McDonald's and get pancakes and maple syrup. And it was like they were back when they were little, because we only got a McDonald's in Darwin in 1997, 96, 97. He was only really little, and I used to finish up work, if I was on night shift, finish up work at 7, drive through McDonald's, pick up the pancakes and bring it home on a Saturday morning. It was the Saturday morning treat if I was on night shift, because if I brought home pancakes I might get some sleep. It was bribery. And it used to be, they would all if there was like Mother's Day, he would go out and get pancakes and bring it back, and I'd have breakfast in bed with the littlies. We'd have McDonald's pancakes as breakfast in bed as a family, everybody in the big bed. And again, it was, thank God I'm changing the sheets are getting changed today because of stickiness. But it was just like they were all little again, and it really did bring home, how much they have grown. They do grow on you. You only have them for a very short time, and then they fly the nest. So that was Mother's Day. Didn't get out to knit group. I did get out to the library, but it was only a very short in out. But I did get there, and I got a crochet book. I didn't think I was going to get a crochet book, but I got a crochet book called Crochet, Crochet, Crocheted, Crochet, Crocheted Accessories by Vanessa Muncini. It's a Gilda Mastercrafts from publication. From 2012, and there is one pattern in here that I think I will be making for somebody from a Ravelry friend, and it has to be made for her, and yeah, I just now I can't find the bloody pattern. There's a fascinator. That's the delicate one. Here we are. It's a giant poppy fascinator. Can you see that without the glare? Yeah, I've just got to make that for her and as a prezi to surprise her, and yeah, just have to do that because she wears fascinators, and I think she had no problems. I managed to get out to see another Spoonie, the Spoonie who's just around the corner from me, Sue. Her crocheting is coming along, her tension's coming along beautifully. So I wasn't stuck all week. It's just that I seemed to be getting a cold at the end of the week, and I just didn't get out to the knit group. I'm going to try again this week, but hopefully this blockiness will be held off, and it won't turn into anything more for that. So that's all for this week. So I'm going to say thank you for spending your time with me and taking the time. If you've made it all the way from here, I really appreciate that you have spent your time with me. And I'll see you next week.